Hello, my name is Nicki Hoyne, and I ask you, why are people afraid to talk about death? I get it. It's sad. It's scary. It's final. But it is 100% going to happen, and ignoring it doesn't make it go away. What if you looked at it differently? When I think about my death, I immediately think about my life. It's the default. You think about the big picture. If you think about your life, you immediately think about your death. What does it mean? Who do I love? Who do I want to spend my life with? What do I want to do? How do I give back? What's my legacy? Bronnie Ware is an Australian nurse. She worked in palliative care with patients in the last 12 weeks of their lives. And she wrote a book that identified the 5 top regrets of the dying. They wish they'd had the courage to express their true selves, not what people expected of them. They wish they hadn't worked so hard. They wish they'd been able to express how they really felt. They wish they'd stayed in touch with their friends. And they wish they'd let themselves be happier. My grandfather died in 2016. He was 105 and a half years of age. He was the oldest man in Ireland. He was born into the British Empire. He saw Ireland fight for their independence. He lived through 2 world wars. He saw the invention of the motor car, telephones, electricity, the moon landing, rock and roll. He saw incredibly hard times and incredible change. But he was so interested and excited about life and the future and technology. He owned the first computer in the family, and he Skyped my aunt and uncle in America every day. He'd been blind for the last 20 years of his life. When I was growing up, my whole life was the end of his life. He'd raised his family. He'd finished his career. He was so interested, and I used to tell him about how I ran an online store and how e-commerce worked, and he just thought it was fascinating. He had no time for moaning and complaining. In the end of his life, he was at home with my grandmother, the love of his life, his childhood sweetheart and best friend when he was a little kid. And he just enjoyed life. And he enjoyed us and his family and his friends. He lived day to day. My dad is a serial entrepreneur. He has such incredible self-belief. He goes out and he does what he wants. And my mum is 100% supportive of him. Even when we were little and we hadn't a bean in the 80s, and he just went out there and he just went for it. And my mum, she's the most positive, optimistic person you have ever met in your life. And she told me I could do anything I wanted to do. And she told me the most important thing in life is to be happy. It makes sense. If you're happy and you focus on being happy, no matter what you do, everything else falls into place. Whether you want a career, you want a family, relationships, the big house, to climb Mount Everest, to run marathons, to save people, whatever you want to do in life, if you focus on being happy, you'll be happy and you'll do all those things. Instead of having a big long list of, if I do all these things, I'll be happy. If you focus on being happy, everything else will just fall into place. I use social media a lot for my work. I'm the face of my brand, and people ask me all the time, Nicki, how are you so positive? You have so much energy. You're so excited every day about what you do. I'm happy. I focus on my happiness. I do things that make me happy. I love Monday. It's my favorite day. I get so excited on Monday mornings. I'm like, come on, let's do this. And people think that's mad, and I don't get it. I'm like, I have a fresh start, new week. I can accomplish anything this week. Who knows what's going to happen this week? Something amazing can happen this week. I don't mind the rain. I don't get why people get so upset about the rain. Like, stay out of it. Use an umbrella. It's not a big deal. It's about how I look at the world. It's about perspective. You can be positive and happy, or you can moan and complain. You can look at a situation, and two people can live the exact same lives, but look at it completely differently. And one can be very unhappy, and one can be extremely happy. And they've got a very similar life. Linda David is a training director of Source America, a nonprofit, and she says, your perception is your reality. It's either an asset or it's self-limiting. It's your choice. It's simple, but it's actually not very easy to change your perception. But a shift in your perception, if you can't change your situation, is the difference between someone living a happy life or an unhappy life. But if your perception is that you're stuck, you'll be stuck forever. I lived in London for 4 years. I worked in premium fragrance, worked with some of the biggest fashion brands in the world, and it was amazing. It was so cool. I went to the parties, there were celebrities, the champagne, the freebies. It was amazing, and it was so cool, and everyone thought, wow, Nicki, you have the dream life, the dream job. You're so lucky. And I knew I was lucky. But after 4 years, I was in a role where I didn't want to be, and it was great, but I didn't see longevity in it. And I decided that I wanted to change. And everyone said, you're mad. I said, I'm going to go home, I'm going to regroup, I'm sure I'll be there for a couple of months, I'll go back to Kilkenny, back to the cocoon of my family, and I'll make a new plan. And I thought I would be off on a new adventure in Sydney or New York with another cool job. And everyone said, you're mad, London's amazing, how could you ever leave London? But I went home, and I reset, and I really liked being at home, and I really liked Kilkenny, and I liked living there. And I took a job in the family business, and on day one, I hated it. It just wasn't for me. I couldn't get passionate about it. And I thought to myself, okay, take a step back, Nick. You want to be happy. What makes you happy? And I loved living in Kilkenny. I loved being that close to my family. I was reconnecting with my old friends, making new friends. And I wanted to stay there. And I loved fashion and accessories. And I loved to travel. And I loved to be challenged. And really, I wanted to start my own business all along, and I said, now is the time. 10 years previously, in that situation, it wouldn't have been possible. But in 2013, technology meant, yeah, I can start a business in Kilkenny, and I can have an amazing lifestyle. So, 5 years on, here I am. I own an incredibly successful accessories online store. I travel the world. I'm challenged, I get to be creative, I get to take risks, which I love, I get to make decisions, I'm surrounded by my family, I have the glitz and the glamour, but I can dip in and out of it. It's amazing. I feel so fortunate, I'm so happy, I give back, and I lead this incredible life. So I ask you, stop, look at your life, think about what makes you happy, what really makes you happy. There's no do-over. There's no second chance. You only get one life. Maybe you need to just shift your perspective and look at your life differently. But really look at your life. Look at what makes you happy and go and do that. Thank you.